What if I told you Brooklyn was once its own city, more powerful than most states in America? What if the borough millions call home today almost became something completely different? Brooklyn isn't just a place, it's a story of ambition, rebellion, tragedy, and reinvention. Before the skyline, before the bridge, before the brownstones and the music that shaped generations, there was a quiet Dutch village called Breuckelen. In 1636, settlers from the Dutch West India Company claimed land on the western edge of Long Island. But this was not empty land. The Lenape people had lived here for generations. Their trails carved the paths that would later become Brooklyn's streets. Imagine forest where Flatbush Avenue now roars with traffic, salt marshes where Coney Island pulses with neon lights. When the English took control in 1664, Breuckelen became Brooklyn. For nearly 2 centuries, it remained a collection of small farming towns. Brooklyn Heights, Flatbush, Bushwick, separate, proud, and independent. Then came the American Revolution. In 1776, the Battle of Long Island exploded across Brooklyn's fields, becoming the largest battle of the Revolutionary War. Thousands of soldiers clashed in what is now Prospect Park. Smoke covered the hills. The Continental Army was nearly destroyed. And yet, under the cover of night, George Washington executed one of the most daring retreats in military history, silently evacuating his troops across the East River to Manhattan. Had that escape failed, the United States might not have survived its infancy. Brooklyn was nearly the place where America ended. By the 1800s, Brooklyn began transforming. Manhattan was overcrowded and chaotic, and Brooklyn marketed itself as refined and clean. It became known as the City of Churches. By 1898, Brooklyn was the 4th largest city in America, bigger than Boston and St. Louis. It wasn't just growing, and it was competing. Then came one of the most controversial decisions in its history. In 1898, Brooklyn was consolidated into Greater New York City. Many residents were furious. Newspapers called it the Great Mistake of 1898. Imagine waking up and your city no longer exists as an independent place. Brooklyn lost its political independence, but it gained connection to something larger. Before that consolidation, however, another symbol had already reshaped its destiny, the Brooklyn Bridge. When it opened in 1883, it was more than steel and stone. Its chief engineer, John Roebling, died before construction truly began. His son, Washington Roebling, was severely injured by decompression sickness while working on the underwater foundations. For years, he directed construction from his apartment window using binoculars. But the quiet hero was his wife, Emily Roebling. She studied engineering so she could relay his instructions to workers on site. Without her, the bridge might never have stood. Every time someone crosses it, they're walking across an act of perseverance and partnership. As the 20th century unfolded, Brooklyn became a gateway for immigrants. Irish dock workers, Italian families, Jewish garment workers, Caribbean communities, they reshaped neighborhoods into living mosaics. Williamsburg thrived with factories and faith traditions. Bay Ridge echoed with Scandinavian sailors. Crown Heights pulsed with cultural energy. Brooklyn became a world within a borough. Then in 1947, history stepped onto a baseball field. A young Jackie Robinson joined the Brooklyn Dodgers at Ebbets Field, breaking Major League Baseball's color barrier. He wasn't just playing a sport, he was challenging a nation's conscience. Brooklyn embraced him during a time when much of America resisted change. When the Dodgers left for Los Angeles in 1957, the heartbreak was real. Grown men wept. It felt like losing part of Brooklyn's soul. The decades that followed were not easy. Factories closed. Industry collapsed. By the 1970s, crime rose and entire blocks were abandoned. Fires tore through neighborhoods like Bushwick. Outsiders declared Brooklyn finished. But Brooklyn has never been defined by decline. Artists moved into empty lofts. Musicians found cheap rent and creative freedom. Families stayed when others fled. From struggle came culture. Streets once written off became sources of influence that reached the entire world. Brooklyn didn't disappear. It began reinventing itself once again. And just when the world thought it understood this borough, another transformation was quietly beginning, one that would reshape its future in ways no one could fully predict. By the 1990s, Brooklyn still carried scars from decades of decline and change. Boarded windows and abandoned warehouses told stories of times long past. Then the shift began as artists crossed the bridge from Manhattan seeking space. Main character observed the transformation with cautious hope in their eyes. "This place has potential," he said, watching studios replace storage rooms. Dumbo was once filled with factories, now it's a hub for innovation and design. The old freight yards became playgrounds for creative minds and entrepreneurs. Tech companies replaced machinery, signaling Brooklyn's new identity. Today, buildings house luxury lofts and bustling startups, blending history with progress. "It's incredible," main character whispered, admiring the skyline's evolution. Williamsburg followed a similar path from working-class roots to art district prominence. The neighborhood buzzed with live music, street art, and youthful energy. "Gentrification," some said, "is tearing apart the soul of Brooklyn," he murmured. Longtime residents felt pushed out as rents soared beyond their reach. Who gets to stay, they often wondered, concerned about losing community ties. Cultures that built Brooklyn searched for affordable homes elsewhere. Gentrification became a heated debate, a clash of economic realities and heritage. Coney Island reflected Brooklyn's cycle of resurgence and nostalgia. Once the Atlantic City of America, he said, it symbolized freedom and fun. Fires, financial decline, and changing tastes led to periods of decay. Yet redevelopment efforts began to breathe new life into its attractions. The old wooden boardwalk still faces the Atlantic, echoing laughter from long ago. Brooklyn has never erased its past. It layers history onto every corner. Walking through Brooklyn Heights reveals brownstones, once symbols of elite escape. Similarly, Bedford-Stuyvesant streets tell stories of resilience and pride. Sunset Park's diverse voices redefine what Brooklyn sounds like daily. The borough does not have a single identity. It holds hundreds within. "That's Brooklyn," main character said with a smile. "Diverse and vibrant." Perhaps Brooklyn's greatest strength is its contrast and constant reinvention. It was farmland, then battleground, then a rival city seeking growth. Brooklyn transitioned from an industrial powerhouse to a symbol of urban decay. Now it's a global brand recognized by fashion and culture worldwide. People wear Brooklyn with pride, he noted, even in places they've never visited. A former independent city, Brooklyn refused to be just another suburb. Now it's one of the most recognizable names on the planet. Despite boutique storefronts, the original heartbeat of communities remains strong. Early mornings in Crown Heights show neighbors sharing stories on stoops. In Bensonhurst, elderly residents watch the world go by from porch swings. Kids play basketball beneath elevated train tracks in Brownsville, full of life. Brooklyn is more than trends, main character asserted confidently. It's about the people who stay, who keep its spirit alive, he added. Each generation believes it's witnessing a freshly reborn Brooklyn. History teaches us change is the only constant this borough has known. Newcomers arrive, reshape neighborhoods, and leave their mark behind. Brooklyn absorbs, adapts, and moves forward, always evolving. Is it losing itself or becoming what it has always been, he pondered. From Lenape trails to Dutch farms, history resides in its streets. Revolutionary War smoke faded into towering skylines above Brooklyn. Ebbets Field cheers echo now only in nostalgic memories. But quiet warehouse studios now hum with tech innovation and creativity. Look at the Brooklyn Bridge's stone towers, a testament to resilience. Think of the immigrants who arrived with hope, he said softly. And the engineer who watched the skyline grow from a small window. The baseball player carrying the weight of change, he joked. Neighborhoods that refuse to disappear tell Brooklyn's true story. Brooklyn is more than a borough, main character declared proudly. It's a living timeline, forged through struggle, courage, and diversity. Brooklyn remains an idea that ideas do not fade but persist in renewal.